I'd say get woke, go broke to this story. Disney to lay off 7,000 as woke corporation struggles to recoup subscriber losses. But yeah, I don't think it's about wokeness, to be completely honest. Now, there have been some organizations like the New York Times talking about how they're making money. But I think generally we're just seeing a downturn across the board in terms of subscription revenue. I mean, obviously, there was always going to be an upper limit. You can't grow forever. You can do certain things to try and get more and more money. But I mean, for a company like Disney, you got to recognize it's like you're the top. That's it, baby. There's no one else. There's nowhere else to go. And so, they're going to be laying off 7,000. I mean, that sucks for them. And I do think wokeness plays a role. People are just tired of being preached at. They just want to be entertained. And speaking of that, y'all should really watch the latest South Park episode. It's kind of something else to see South Park somewhat indirectly make fun of you. Now, of course, they're making fun of Ye in this episode. But the reason I bring them up is that in the episode, Randy Marsh, Stan's dad, starts talking to Kyle's dad about how Hollywood needs to stop the preaching and just get back to entertaining stories because people don't like being, yelled at. And he's like, the woke stuff, it's got to stop. People are just sick of it. They just want to be entertained. And I don't know if, Parker and Stone meant that unironically, like they literally have him saying this because they agree with it or that that was funny to point out. But the general theme of the episode is that Kyle is Jewish, so he runs Hollywood. And shout out, I guess, they kind of make fun of Timcast IRL because Cartman says, who is they? And I'm like, oh, man, He's got Cupid Ye, or Cupid Ye, as he calls it. And it's Kanye talking about Jews. And then he says, you have to, speak up against they, though. And then Cartman's like, but who is they? And I got a bunch of messages from people bringing that up. But anyway, I brought that episode up only because of what Randy was saying, that it's not working anymore. And I agree. But I think there's something else, too. I think the reason we see a lot of this wokeness, I think the reason we see a lot of anti-wokeness, it is rooted to a certain degree in political ideology. You've got people who work at these companies who are true believers and they want to push it. But I also think people see it as a means to an end. So, for instance, with Disney, they're thinking, look, we're going to get a lot of views. You know how I know? I worked for Disney. I worked for an ABC News joint venture, a Disney subsidiary, and they said side with the audience. They genuinely believed if you just say things that people want to hear, they'll click the video. And that is mostly true. That's true for everybody. That is true for so many people on YouTube and so many people in the anti-establishment, so many people in corporate press. It seems to be the driving force behind everything. But you know what it feels like? It feels like we're just so stagnant. Because at a certain point, we expect something to happen, right? But it's just the same all the way down. I suppose we can talk about this and we can gloat at Disney laying off 7,000 employees, but this isn't news. What I mean is it's not new. We've seen these stories. I've talked about this ad nauseum. So what else are we supposed to do? Yeah, I'll say it again. I mentioned it several times. This is why I didn't do an episode last Friday. I'm just like, at this point, tired of the same thing with nothing changing. Maybe this is the end. The complete decentralization. Disney isn't going to make as much money because people are tired of it. They don't want to watch this stuff. Like, I'll put it this way. How many Marvel movies can you make and watch? Look, I'm really excited for Ant-Man Quantumania, to be completely honest. Kang the Conqueror is going to be in it. But these are characters that were written 60 years ago or whatever. It's all just regurgitated. And these political conflicts, as much as I want to see American values survive and persist, I'm not so sure this is the path towards doing it. I mean, at a certain point, you get to a level where people are watching your content, you're making money, then you invest in it, you start making more. But I've long thought about this. This is why we have the strategy at timcast.com that we do. We did not make any new political shows. We just have, but we're going to have one semi-political. But we've got, Timcast IRL obviously is culture and politics, entertainment. Pop Culture Crisis is pop culture and entertainment with some culture. And like some cultural politics, I should say. And I felt like, the real path towards solving these problems is going to be community building. People aren't going to church as much anymore, things like that. We need a physical space where people can meet, get together, and share ideas so that those ideas can persist. But I'll tell you what you guys know and what I'm really not interested in is it's getting increasingly difficult every day to just talk about the same things that don't seem to be changing. Crime is through the roof. Yeah, well, it's been 7 years. You know, crime's been getting worse. Antifa, violence, street violence. Now, I've periodically made videos explaining this. You know, there's periods where I'll be like, dude, I get it. Antifa just beat a guy up. I'm not going to make another video about it. And then I go, well, maybe I have to. Because there are still people who don't know about it. But then there are people who do know about it and stop caring because it's the only thing they ever hear about. So it's really difficult to break through. And thus you end up with, as Yuri Bezmenov describes, demoralization. People get so used to the world as it is, it stops being shocking. It stops being a victory. Is it a victory that Disney laid off 7,000 people because they're losing subscribers? I don't know. I mean, maybe. Maybe we want Disney to just utterly collapse. Maybe we want alternative networks to emerge and people to build new followings and to make new content. I mean, that's what we tried doing with Cast Castle. It's what we're doing with Tales from the Inverted World, which we got to figure out how we're even, going to be doing it. But I think one of the things that's causing, as I talked about earlier today, a lot of this political drama between like Crowder and the Daily Wire, me and, various other YouTube channels, Veritas and James O'Keefe. It's a desire for conflict and purpose. And that's why the woke left is constantly trying to cancel each other. It's why you've got people like Hassan Piker saying he's not going to play Hogwarts Legacy because he doesn't want to get canceled. He doesn't want to get bullied because they're going to come to him. They're going to yell at him and he doesn't want to be involved in that. And I'm just like, yeah, that's the world we live in. I don't want to live in it. I'm bored of it. And I think most of you are as well. I think we're all getting bored of it. So then what is there? I don't know. Maybe people are finding hobbies again. Maybe people are finally saying, you know what? I didn't care about politics. Then I did care about politics. I don't care about politics again anymore. Been there, done that. We saw what was behind the curtain. And I think where this goes is ebb and flow. Meaning, people are going to start drifting away from this stuff because they don't care. They're going to get hyper-focused on drama and other stuff like that because it's something new to be upset about and rally around. And then they're going to get bored of that. Once they vacate the political space and drift into some other idea or some other concept, you'll get the corrupt politicians exploiting the system again, and then things will start to revert and get worse. Not that they've been getting too much better, to be completely honest. Donald Trump was weighed down, and for years, we had a president who had not only his hands tied behind his back, but weights placed on his ankles. And so this is where it brings us. There's only so much you can do, Disney. You've pandered to the woke crowd, but they're not subscribing anymore. Because been there, done that. We've heard it. We've heard it all before. It's just not interesting to anybody. And that brings up the big issue with the culture war and why I think civil war. And I'll explain it to you in a way that I typically don't, but sometimes may have. It's not about two factions who oppose each other who are fighting. It's about a need for escalation. That humans aren't satisfied seeing the same thing over and over and over again. We want something new. So if you're following politics and someone says, as many of you have heard me say this, Donald Trump is bad, you click it and say, oh, he is? The next day, if they write the same article, you're not going to click it. So they say Donald Trump is the worst. And you go, he is? I heard he was bad. He's worse? They one-up it. Every day. That's what they do. The headlines get more exaggerated. The claims more pronounced. The anger and the demands for retribution, the righteous indignation becomes louder and louder. I mean, look at AOC. Man, bomb threat at Boston's Children's House. She made up that fake story where she's like, the guy knocks on her door. Where is she? Where is she? Man, we need something else. That's why I'm investing resources into physical locations so that we can just hang out, play video games, and not do this petty online garbage. And then maybe that's where the real opportunity is. Create a system of coffee shops. I'll give a shout out to Black Rifle Coffee. Black Rifle Coffee. You know what happened? Kyle Rittenhouse was wearing their shirt. Someone said something like, Kyle Rittenhouse knows who the best coffee company is. And then Black Rifle came out and said, we do not endorse him, we do not sponsor him, and we won't. These things are bad, blah, blah, blah. And they got flack for it. It's all everything is, man. I hope you realize people are trying to convince you to give, they want you to give your money to them. I am, obviously, with timcast.com. But I'll just put it this way, man. If you like what I do, if you agree with me and you believe in what we do, then support timcast.com. And if you don't. But too much of what we see is corporations saying that they will say or do anything if it means you give them money. Suppose the difference between us and some of these corporations is that we're just a company run by me. Rather accidentally, I might add. Just started building stuff. More people supported it, more money came in, started building more and more and more. And now I'm wondering if it's worth it, to be completely honest. Because it is just getting to the point where we're regurgitating the same ideas. This is probably the 50th video I've done about layoffs due to corporations getting woke and going broke. I don't know what the answer is. And I can't imagine where we will end up in a year if our whole shtick as an anti-establishment movement or even the establishment is just whatever the mob says goes. Where do we end up? Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe it's not possible to build a machine in this environment. Maybe we tried and we can't. Or maybe it is. Maybe we just got to keep doing what we're doing. You let me know what you think. Seriously. And we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. There are easier ways to live a life and to challenge the machine. But how many people are really interested in it? And how much of this is just people who are bored and needing a cause and it really not doing anything? You know, look, man, last night, Matt Gaetz said some nice words about Timcast, but I'll tell you my honest feelings. One, tremendous respect for Matt Gaetz. He is my favorite member of Congress, but all of the Freedom Caucus individuals, you know, Jim Jordan's great, Lauren Boebert, Anna Paulina Luna, it was really great to talk to them. But I really do feel like one of the reasons that they're excited for the show is because we have a big audience, because people want to watch it. And I'm curious. I mean, it's power dynamics. It's how the whole system works and always has and always will. When we first started Timcast IRL, I had a large amount of followers, but the show was relatively new. People didn't want to come on. And so we got the guests that we could get. Now people won't stop begging me to come on the show. And it's kind of, I don't know, man. You know, I said this the other day. I don't want to tell someone they can't come on the show because they're not famous or anything like that. But the problem is, it's power dynamics. It's how the whole machine works. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'd be better off just living in a trailer. You know, I talk about the van down by the river, but I'm like, no, I just get a couple acres of land and get some animals and just mind my own business and take care of myself. These people work so much less than I do. And if what we're really dealing with is just power dynamics where a centralized figure can dictate some ideas and convince people of what is good or what is bad, I mean, is that ever going to change? Honestly, don't know. Maybe that one guy was right. What did he say? That it's best to not meddle in the affairs of man or whatever. Better be a fisherman or something like that. The problem with that is the people who don't get involved in this will be then ruled by their lessers. Double-edged sword. But that's life, I suppose. That's life. As long as I can have my therapy sessions where I whinge to the camera, there's no reason for me to stop doing this. And as long as most people keep supporting the work we're doing, I guess we'll keep doing it. But I have to wonder, to what end? To what end indeed? I have values that I believe in. But apparently I've discovered recently that not everybody who follows me actually believes in those values. And that's, I don't know. It is what it is. So what do we do? Get woke, go broke, I guess? Suppose we'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.